All right, I think we're live. Push 1 in the chat if you can hear me. All right, got a confirmation. Thank you for the confirmation. Welcome back to the Black Brain Trust. This is episode 813. Please hit the like button as you come in, share the video if possible, and hit that notification bell so you go to the updates from the Black Brain Trust. There'll be a docket in the description beneath the video for you to follow along with and reference. I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on this, but I do think it needs to be highlighted that without Trump, the Republican Party is finished. Let me play the clip. Let me know you can see my screen. All right, I'm going to play this clip. This is from PBS.
For 25 years, Consumer Cellular's goal has been to provide wireless service that helps people communicate and connect. We offer a variety of no-contract plans, and our U.S.-based customer service team can help find one that fits you. To learn more, visit consumercellular.tv.
So far, former President Donald Trump's growing legal troubles do not appear to be putting a dent in his support among Republican voters. The latest polling shows the former president maintaining his stranglehold over the GOP, and there's scant evidence that any of his challengers will be able to loosen his grip on the nomination, even as he faces criminal charges. Former President Donald Trump is trouncing his 2024 Republican rivals, according to a new New York Times Siena College poll, holding a massive 37 percentage point lead over Florida Governor Ron DeSantis in the GOP presidential field. The results underscoring Mr. Trump's iron grip on the Republican electorate, even as he faces multiple criminal and civil legal cases.
Thank you very much, Erie.
Speaking this weekend in Pennsylvania, the former president railed against Democrats, repeated false claims of election fraud, and urged Republicans to jump to his defense.
The radical lunatic Democrats, they impeach me, they indict me, they rig our elections. And the Republicans just don't fight the way they're good people, but they don't fight the way they're supposed to fight. The others are dirty, sick players, and the Republicans are very high class. They've got to be a little bit lower class.
Among Mr. Trump's rivals, different approaches for taking on the dominant frontrunner for the party's nomination. Former Congressman Will Hurd, speaking Friday before a crowd of party faithful in Iowa, tore into the former president.
Donald Trump is running to stay out of prison. And if we elect...
Which drew a chorus of boos.
I know. Listen, I know the truth. The truth is hard.
And on the airwaves, former Governor Nikki Haley encouraged Republicans to move beyond Donald Trump.
Well, none of us want to be talking about indictments. Yeah. I don't even know if it's the third, fourth, or fifth indictment right now, but what I can tell you is it's a distraction.
As former governor and outspoken Trump critic Chris Christie offered this.
It is most likely that by the time we get on the debate stage on August 23rd, the frontrunner will be out on bail in 4 different jurisdictions.
But Ron DeSantis, speaking to reporters today in New Hampshire, dodged a question about Mr. Trump's legal exposure, avoiding any mentions of the former president.
We're here to talk about restoring this economy.
And for a closer look at the latest developments in the Republican primary, we're joined now by Republican pollster Whit Ayers, who has in the past consulted for Florida Governor Ron DeSantis and Senators Lindsey Graham and Marco Rubio. It's great to have you here.
Good to be with you, Jeff.
The New York Times, in its analysis of that poll that we mentioned, notes that in the modern history of presidential primaries, no candidate who has led his or her nearest rival by at least 20 points at this point in the race has ever lost a party nomination. And Donald Trump leads Ron DeSantis by nearly double that. Is a Trump nomination inevitable at this point, Whit?
Far from it, Jeff. I mean, we've never in American history had a leading candidate for president facing multiple serious felony indictments either. So it's such an unstable environment with the things that haven't happened yet that might happen that we don't know about. Does Donald Trump have a huge lead in the national polls? Yes, he does. And I think it's unreasonable to expect the national polls to change before people start voting in Iowa or New Hampshire or South Carolina. But there are plenty of examples of people starting to vote and somebody popping in one of those early states, and then the national numbers follow along behind that. But I don't think the national numbers are going to change until Iowa.
Well, let me ask you then about the intensity of Donald Trump's support, noting that this, of course, is a national poll, as you say, but it finds that 43% of Republicans have a very favorable opinion of Donald Trump, a group that he carries by an overwhelming 92% to a 7% margin if he's in a one-on-one race with Ron DeSantis. How does Ron DeSantis overcome that? A 92 to 7% margin?
It would be very difficult, but Ron DeSantis may not be the one who has the best shot of doing it. Let's presume at the start that running for president is really hard. Lamar Alexander, our first presidential candidate, is used to saying that running for a statewide office and running for president is the difference between running for or playing in 8th grade basketball and the NBA finals. It's really hard. Let's also agree that no one has quite figured out how to deal with a Donald Trump full-fledged assault. Not just on your character or record, which is par for the course, but on your appearance, your wife's appearance, as Ted Cruz, presumably laying out allegations with totally unsupported about pedophilia, like he did with Ron DeSantis. No one has done that. That said, Ron DeSantis keeps making unforced error after unforced error. He said that Ukraine was just a territorial dispute, which really upset a lot of Republicans in the foreign policy world. He suggested that RFK Jr., a conspiracy theorist of the highest order, should run the Center for Disease Control. And he keeps doubling down on the argument that somehow slavery was beneficial to some slaves. I mean, those are obvious cases where going one direction was the obvious answer and he went the other direction. That makes me wonder if he's got the political instincts to play effectively at this level.
Well, I was going to ask you that. You have the experience of having worked for Governor DeSantis during his 2018 gubernatorial bid. What seems to be the problem? Is the strategy flawed? Is the candidate flawed, or both?
He has a hard time working with people. He will have absolutely nothing to do with anyone associated with a hard-fought, successful race in 2018. Not the pollster, not either media consultant, not the general consultant, not the campaign manager, and not the financial consultant. That's a little unusual, Jeff, when you have a candidate winning and it'll have nothing to do with any of the people who helped him.
The candidates who seem to be taking on Donald Trump directly, to include Chris Christie, Will Hurd, Asa Hutchinson, is there enough of a share of the Republican electorate left for them to mount serious challenges?
We've talked before about how there is a never Trump cohort in the Republican Party, but it's only about 10 to 12%. Those messages appeal a lot to the never Trump people, but there's a majority of the party that are maybe Trump people that voted for him twice but are skeptical that he can win in 2024. The problem is when you say Donald Trump is unfit for office, that makes those people have to recognize that they voted twice for someone who was unfit to be president. That's a hard psychological leap to get over for most of those people.
Because people don't want to believe that they were wrong.
Exactly, exactly. And so I think those three candidates you mentioned are very effective in making a never Trump argument, but I think they're going to tap out at 10 to 12% of the electorate.
Whit Ayers, always great to speak with you. I'm sure we'll have you back as this campaign unfolds.
Great to be here, Jeff.
All right, man. So here's the deal. And we've been talking about this for the last couple of years. That is inevitable that without Trump, they can't win. And the Republican Party is heading for dissolution, similar to the Whig Party. And so when you see Black men trying to get behind this party as if they're the saviors of the Black community, or even masculinity for that matter, I'm not sure if they're paying attention to the data. I'm not sure if they're paying attention to the indictments. I'm not sure if they're paying attention to the policies. What exactly are you looking at here? I can tell you right now that no one in the party is going to outperform Trump. And, you know, I've heard a live stream earlier from a certain PhD where you had another PhD come on and say that Ron DeSantis is going to be, the cleanup guy for, that can push the policy that Black men want. This really strange analysis, if you want to call it that, coming from a PhD. I think he should have his head checked, or his credentials checked for that matter. And so I just wanted to really open up the dialogue on this, because no one's really talking about that and talking about this in the manosphere at all, that without Trump, the party is finished. There's nothing holding up the party right now without Trump. Now, you can say what you want about Biden. He falls down, he's old, this, and that. At the end of the day, his policies are working, okay? Not saying you should go out and vote for him, just saying what the reality is. The political reality is that without Trump, the party is finished. All these indictments coming down on Trump, I don't know how he's going to bob and weave his way around, especially with the bombshell coming out tomorrow morning. And there are a lot of guys in this space who believe that Black masculinity, Black manhood, and, manosphere impact can be galvanized through Republican administration. I don't know where they're getting this from, but somehow they've equated a predominantly white Anglo-Saxon party to the liberation of Black men in social media behind StreamYards. It's a really strange dynamic. And I don't know what they're looking at. At the end of the day, Trump appointed judges pushed back against reparations in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Trump appointed judges have basically worked against the collective interests of affirmative action as we know it today. And as it stands right now, there are no Republican candidates that would actually look out for a 17-point agenda. Not even Byron Donalds. Not even, John James out of Michigan. What are these guys looking at? I have no idea. But if you hedge your bets on the Republican Party in 2024, I think you're in for a rude awakening at this point. Not saying Trump is going to lose or win. I'm saying if that's their best bet, then the party is finished. They have nothing to offer, no policies, absolutely liquidated in terms of what their credibility is. They have nothing to offer. I mean, we just saw many examples of Ron DeSantis just flopping all over the place with his gaffes in terms of what he's trying to do in terms of running his campaign. Just fired 40% of his staffers just this over the weekend. Where are these people going? I don't know. Ron, I think the problem with Ron DeSantis is he's an acolyte of Trump, but he can't be Trump. He just doesn't have the national branding. He doesn't have the firebrand, and he's too much of a fraud of Trump, right? And so when you really think about it, why vote for a guy who's a copycat of the real thing, right? I mean, what are you hoping to get out of that? I mean, who buys a Birkin bag or fake true religions when they can actually get the real thing? It doesn't make a whole lot of sense. I don't understand that strategy at all. I always thought that Ron should have played a role, a supporting role to Trump. I always thought he should have just played that role, but instead he thought he can usurp Trump from where he is, but that's never going to work. And so when you think about Tim Scott, although Tim Scott is outraising DeSantis right now, I don't see a pathway for Tim Scott to be the president. VP, maybe. Secretary of some agency, absolutely, he can play that role. Nikki Haley, very likely choice for a VP, primarily because Republicans have a issue with galvanizing women, and the way you bring women to the party is through having a female VP. Whether it's Nikki Haley, whether it's Marjorie Taylor Greene, whether it's Carrie Lake out of Arizona, they need to find some kind of solution that's going to galvanize the base, and this is not it. DeSantis is not it. Tim Scott, not it. If you're trying to attract Black voters, then all of the things about slavery that DeSantis just gaffed on, that's obviously that's backfiring. And you can see the party kind of distancing themselves away from DeSantis. I don't see who's going to want to back him with more money in his campaign if he keeps making these gaffes. In fact, firing 40% of your staff is probably reflective of why anybody would want to back you in the first place. What's the purpose of that? Because you don't have a pathway to victory. You can win Florida, that's easy, but to win the nation, it's not going to work, man. Hey, what's going on, MOT?
Hey, what's going on? And that's the closest competitor, like real competitor. I think Trump is just going to clean house, especially when it comes to these debates, if he even shows up to them. It's all fun and games until you actually face him in a debate. Because that dude is coming to take heads off.
Mm-hmm.
That dude is coming to make headlines. I don't think DeSantis or anybody else on that stage would be able to actually survive him going at him in an actual debate. Because he came loaded for bear, and you've seen the way he made those people look. I'm talking about seasoned politicians, how he made them look during the other president. And I see these people are just weak ass candidates, man.
But the party is weak, though.
Weak.
The party is weak, MOT. The party is weak. And that's the thing.
He's the only draw. He is the only draw. He is the party. After he leaves or goes away or whatever, there's nothing else left. You're right. He is the draw. There is nobody else. He is the draw.
Yeah. Yeah, I just think that people are miscalculating this for whatever reason. They're hedging their bets on DeSantis or any of these other flunkies within the party itself. I think Tim Scott, without Trump, I think he would be I think the debate between Tim Scott and DeSantis would be very interesting. That's what I would like.
If it's just those two.
Yeah,
if it's just those two.
If it just comes down, because that's eventually they will bump heads because they're South Carolina, because the caucuses would have to come down to South Carolina at some point. But that's not going to be the case for DeSantis. So DeSantis has to play an away game without home field advantage, and he's going to have to play it in South Carolina.
I just think that the things that he's doing is Florida-based and Florida-specific. It can't be ran as a national campaign. You cannot run a national campaign the way he's doing it. And it's not even gaffes. He went out and specifically tried to do this on purpose. This is not a gaffe. This is not a misspeak. This is what he set out and what he meant to do. I mean, you can do all that trolling and stuff within your state, but once you have to explain that stuff outside of your state, where you have a super majority with everything, yeah, man, you're gonna be looking crazy. Well, when you have to swing at Byron Donaldson in the state because such a political miscalculation of not even caring about how Republicans in your own party is going to look for this stuff. Look out to this stuff. It just goes to show you that these people, they're just not that serious, man. And it's hard to justify putting money behind them. Tim Scott, I can see that because he's probably going to be a VP or Nikki Haley. I can't see nobody else getting in there because Trump is all the crazy by itself. You got to have somebody moderate out the ticket. And I think Tim Scott or Nikki Haley is the only person who can moderate out the ticket. You know, I don't know.
Yeah. What's going on, Zoe Royalty? What do you got on this?
Yeah, it's interesting of this current crop of GOP candidates because because none of them can beat Trump. And DeSantis, a year ago he seemed like he could have been a challenge for Trump, but these gaps are just that slavery thing is slavery is a benefit of Black people. That really, I think that was a knockout blow for his campaign, and his campaign was struggling before then. They were burning money. He was firing 40% of his staff, like you said, Mike. Outside of DeSantis, there's nobody else who can challenge Trump. And just like what MLT said, he's the only draw. Whenever he goes to these conservative, events or whatever, he gets the loudest applause. I think there was a recent conservative, convention. I forgot where, and you get Chris Christie, and I forgot somebody else who was there, and the crowd booed them. But then when Trump came, they applauded him, they hoot and hollered, they love the guy. So at this point, the Republican Party, I know this may sound extreme, it's essentially a white nationalist party. That's what it is. It's a fascist white nationalist party. They have nothing to stand for. All it is they have no new ideas. They haven't won the popular vote since what 2000 to 2004. And even then, in 2004, that was a fluke because George Bush got that bump because of 9/11, and then he ended up being, Trump is the worst president in modern American history. I say Bush is second. So how can this party survive? That's why they have no new ideas, and they're depending on rigging elections. Ironically, these clowns talk about voter fraud and all this other stuff, but then they're passing voter suppression laws. They're doing tricks to, gerrymander. Like, that's all they can do. That's not a party that's, wants to advance ideas. This is a party that's just trying to use any trick they can. And they've descended into this authoritarian, minority rule type of party simply because they know demographically they can't win. So they're going to try to use any trick they can to maintain control. This is why they fought. I said this on Sunday on the other live stream. This is why they push hard to get a majority in the Supreme Court, because that's all they got. That's all they got. That's all they have left. Because with the Supreme Court, they can still push their agenda, the regressive agenda. Outside of that, they don't have nothing. They don't have anything. It's a party that's not growing. I mean, what is the Republican Party today? Majority white, very extremist. I mean, it seems like every election cycle, this party is getting more and more extremist.
Well, that's usually happens when your back is against the wall and you don't really have any other options. Let's go to Renaissance Man. What's going on, bro?
Hey, what's up, man?
Chill, man.
I was gonna say, it's DeSantis is kind of I think MOT laid out as kind of self-inflicted, because that's what he set out to do. But I mean, people saw pretty early on, once the lights came on and it kind of went live. It was just it was a disaster, really. People said he didn't have any charisma. There was no magic. So I think he's pretty much done. I don't really see him bouncing back. The money is starting to shift away. The money that they didn't want to put behind Trump is shifting away. That's why you're seeing Tim Scott gain some traction, but you're going to see sort of that spotlight come on him now. And I think I don't know if he'll make too many gaffes, but I don't think he's going to be able to galvanize people for Trump. And honestly, I don't think he's probably going to attack Trump too much, because I think I've always thought he's been angling for vice president, and that people would essentially, try to use him as a ploy to try to get, take some black votes away from Democrats. Because if I really look at the field, I don't really see how anyone really in this field, he adds the most to the ticket. Maybe outside of I could maybe see someone like Youngkin. I don't think you'll get it, but I could see someone like him adding more stability of, that, hey, if Trump gets too, out of line or something like that, hey, I'll be the adult in the room, and we'll invoke the 10th Amendment, and basically say, hey, this guy's not fit for office. So
that was the 25th.
25th. That's what it was. Yeah. So, that's really the only person I think who could add enough value to, who could add value, who could be a threat. I don't really see what Nikki Haley adds. She's kind of someone who's kind of all over the place. One point she's criticizing Trump, it's kind of a corporate shield at the same time too. So I don't really see her having much of a base. Like I said, Scott, I just think he's someone who's there you can kind of use as a prop of, hey, I got a black person on the ticket, so come vote for me. So that's what I really think. It's honestly it's a pretty weak field. And then when you look at the fact that nobody really wants to attack Trump, it looks even weaker. Especially considering you got people like what's his name, Christie in there, who's kind of like, Christie's kind of in that same vein, I think, of a Nikki Haley as well, of sort of like these retreads that are coming back from 2016, 2012, around that time frame of really didn't do well then and don't really see how they're going to do well now. So it's at this point, it's Trump's nomination to lose. I don't think he's going to show up to the debates. Even if he did, I think it would only strengthen him, because people do attack him. He's going to just attack him back, and it's gonna play to his base and to the crowd. The problem is, like, DeSantis didn't work. He essentially tried to be Trump, and it didn't work. And he's kind of done what everyone else who's tried to be Trump has done, is kind of just shoot himself in the foot. And it really hasn't gone anywhere. So those are my initial thoughts.
It's interesting that Chris Christie and DeSantis are both Italian. 2 Italians on the ticket.
Yeah, you can kind of see that in their temperament too.
Yeah.
they kind of have that, loud sort of bully type of mentality.
Yeah, I mean, you can call it an Alfa Romeo, or you can call it, let me play this. This is from Bernard Riley over the weekend. This is a very interesting discussion. Let me just play it from here. I don't have a whole lot of time to play it.
Nate answered it properly. He believes that it can be saved. And I understand how. The closest we got to even addressing is when I was talking about Social Security, and we got to the point where the money, you can pay it if the money was invested abroad in the market at higher returns.
Thank you.
And what I want to say, this is pretty much the sum of most of the things that I ever say, is that politics is controlled on all levels by the bondholder. When we say we're looking for someone to work in our best interest, that's literally a mathematical formula where the interest is the interest off the bond. So your president works for the Treasury, your mayor works for the municipal general bond, your school system has their own bonds and everything like that. If you want to deal with politics, you have to be able to control and buy some bonds. But the problem is when you're chasing that higher return, your money is not within the infrastructure, and it's not being held down and capitalized in the infrastructure where you live. So that is the essential debate that you're going to have. For Nate, that's your answer, is how do you get Americans, and I mean all of them, this isn't just business, I'm talking about through 401k, to actually have the bonds and where they own their house. Like how is it that we're buying houses but don't have any of the bonds for the city that we've just bought this house? How are we taught Black Wall Street in Tulsa? We're not explaining that, hey, it couldn't even be a city unless the residents were buying the bonds to loan the money for interest to get these roads built and everything like that. So that's really all I want to say, because, you know, this whole political thing, we get real serious about it. Number one, our politics was aborted. And I'm glad Duke came on and said it. It's the same thing as gang banging, man. We don't have the numbers. And so you use a different strategy to where you say, what really controls this? And I'm just trying to tell you, it's the bonds that control it. And until we don't have a vehicle to buy it as individual capitalistic investors, but it's our fund, and we use the talent that we have professionally and everything like that, we're not going to have that political power. So I'm just going to put on mute, and that's it.
All right. Laptor SWAT 1 in the building says Black men need to form PACs and lobbyist groups organized by gaining financial donors for money, practice, OPSEC / move in silence until checkmate. Thank you. Thank you for the super chat. Do appreciate that. We about to go to Freedman's Journal because he was up earlier. I don't think he got to say nothing. So I'm gonna come back to you, Devin. But go ahead, Freedman's Journal. You got the floor. You got the mic.
Hey, thanks, Bernard. Appreciate it. Salute to the panel. Salute to the chat. Kind of circling back on the topic of they don't want him thinking outside of the box. Kind of what's happening and why this is a thing is it really, Black men and Black women have a different culture, period. Right? Politics is downstream of culture, right? It is not like who you vote for, this or that, or, you know, this party's message. It is always downstream of culture. And what you see is more and more Black men are voting Republican, period. Like without any, pardon me, without appealing to Black men, without changing their party at all, right? Indeed. Their culture is changing. And that's just that you're going to see that more and more, right? Once enough, and I don't know when, but once enough critical mass happens, right? Like the Black culture is going to get dumped off the Democrat train, right? At some point, they're going to pivot hard to Latinos, because if Black women can't deliver Black men, it's over, right? It's over. They can't win in the cities. I mean, because look, bro, Houston is 40% Latino, right? But their city council isn't, their school boards aren't. So it's only a matter of time until that happens. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, Black culture is just collapsing, right? The divergence between the men and women is done, right? It is just done. So, you know, and I do notice there's a subset of like, you know, functional Black people that want like Black culture to exist. Like they want that good old late 80s, you know, mid 90s Cosby Show type thing to go on, but that ain't happening either, right? Because demography is destiny, right? We know, look at the younger dudes are dating out like crazy. I mean, that just ain't happening either. You know what I mean? So
when you have to measure your political capital against who's dating who, you're finished. No public policy talk. No, they don't even, they're not even interested in the 17-point agenda. They're just interested in Dems losing, Republicans winning, no strategy at all. We just played an amazing clip from PBS that demonstrates that the Republican Party is in flames right now.
Yes, it is.
And you got these guys, you got these jokers.
And they don't look at the data. Like, majority of Black men vote Democrat. Like, I don't know what this idea, this exodus of Black men voting for the Republic. Like, every election has been the vast majority, like 80%.
Now the party's on fire, and these guys are running, I guess, to try to put it out. I don't know what quite is going on.
No. But the problem here is that no substance. Like, this is the only place in the world where they can jump on a panel where somebody will listen to them and hear them out. They say this stuff anywhere outside this panel, and they're running them out the conversation because they're going to think something is wrong with these. But that's how you get caught up in trying to maintain your ignorance rather than just simply know what's going on. You think you're just getting your ish off, no matter how stupid it sounds, is more important than learning about the actual process itself.
Yeah,
And that's what you have here.
Yeah.
I was gonna say the other thing is he was talking about Tulsa. There's a lot, like this is something that's gotten very popular in the past, I guess probably 4 to 8 years, as everyone's talking about Tulsa and Black Wall Street and this and that, and people thinking they can recreate it. There's a great book that just came out from a journalist who actually moved to Tulsa, called "Built from the Fire: The Epic Story of Tulsa's Greenwood District." I recommend people go and buy it. Written by a brother, support him. But he basically lays out like how Tulsa could only really happen in like that place. Like you couldn't recreate the model of a Tulsa just because it was literally
geographically
a place that was
specific.
Yeah, geographically, in the sense of you're basically sitting on top of oil, so essentially a gold mine, and there's such an overflow of wealth that that everyone essentially gets sucked up in it. And people try to take that coupled with sort of this bootstraps black capitalist model of we need to lobby and do this. I'm just like, dude, you can't be the poorest group collectively in America and think you're going to out lobby everyone else. Like it just the math does not math. And the crazy thing is these people are trying to make arguments about economics, and I'm like, if you know anything about business and competition, like you don't really, unless you have some sort of special rules set in place, like as a small business, you really have a hard time competing against multinational corporations. It's kind of non-existent just because of the sheer amount of influence and wealth these people have, not even necessarily because they have better people. It's just like the sheer economies of scale and the like I said, the lobbying and influence. Yet these guys somehow think that we're going to put this pack together. Let's say you get 50% of black men to go along with this. So the black population is roughly about 13% in America. You take that in half. Just black men are smaller. Let's just say so you're going to get 6, maybe 5% of the population. Slice that in half. Let's just say black men out of the whole 13% make up 6%. So let's slice in half and say you get half. So 3% of the population is going to go and somehow, have all this influence, and then on top of that, when you look at, all the disparities we talk about, it just, the math is not math at all. And I don't know why guys default to these talking points.
Because the only pack they're talking about is a Tupac. Let me explain this, man.
And
so yeah,
here's the other thing. They throw around these buzzwords.
Yeah.
They throw around these buzzwords. They're not doing anything. Somebody else is going to organize all of this stuff for them.
That's what Project 21 is for.
Yeah, but like never part of this conversation is what are they going to do? They're just saying what needs to happen so that way they can get what they want out of it. Are they going to invest in it? No, of course not. And that's why these things don't happen. So these people are going nowhere. So this is great.
Kind of frame the conversation is we're kind of doing our own thing. And like some people have said on the panel, if they want to go that way with the Democrat Party and, certain men are pro the queens and everything else, you're just going to see this divide grow over time. So that's it.
But they're going to get sacrificed though. That's the problem. That's the reason why the collapse is happening, because the female, like, it's, I remember reading somewhere. What was that?
Make it quick, because I do gotta pass it to Devin.
Yeah.
He haven't said nothing yet.
So I remember what was it? When he was on the show and it was like the four black women when was it Ice Cube, Ice Cube, whatever. He was on
Cocktails with Queens,
Yeah, and I think the gentleman on the bottom, what he said was correct. The culture is so different. When he was on and he said, here's the plan for Black America, it was for black people as a whole. But the females were going, what's in it for me as a woman? They think they're their own separate group. Mm-hmm. That's part of the problem. If you think race a group thing, that's part of the problem. The females, it's the way they vote, and that's in all races. The females, think about all of the stuff they promote and they vote for, right? abortion, healthcare, the whole 9 yards. It's all about them, not the entirety of the group. And I think that's part of the problem. Once we get the females under control,
that's
I agree with training a toddler. Bro, but that's not the problem. That's men's problem. You still thinking black. Women have individual women problem, which means I want to get stuff without doing anything. I want a sugar daddy, but don't have to give sugar. So they vote for a chicken in a pot.
So I'm basically saying that.
I understand that, but I'm saying that's a man problem. That's not a black problem. Oh, this is all I'm saying, sir. This is all I'm agreeing with you, but this is all I'm saying. I'm saying that when you, once you put, because you keep saying, because black people, and then you say the women, I'm saying women are their own group.
Black he was making that. He was literally making that point.
No, but I'm saying that black men are the only ones that listen to women with clothes on. So while everybody else,
yeah, he heard what they said and he drew the conclusion that they see themselves separately as their own group. Like that's what he was saying. He was basically saying,
no, I know,
right here.
No,
I care about
that part. I'm saying at the end he included it.
We're not mentioned at all in the contract with Black America.
You are mentioned. I mean, when you mention black people, you mentioning black women. So don't count yourself out.
No, that's not true. It's like administration say that when they
black people is not black women. Black women are not included in black people.
No, I care.
Yeah, that shit right there.
When I
that
saw
shit
that,
right there, a lot of black men pretended like they didn't see what was said right there. Everybody in the damn black manosphere did content on that shit to try to open up black men's mind to like, look, they literally see themselves as their own separate group, and whatever it is that they going for, what they want, whatever they trying to do, it ain't got shit to do with you.
Like Mike, so, you pause real quick.
Definitely.
Yeah, and that's the problem. The problem is,
yeah, I just quickly wanted to highlight like the thing that these guys don't get. That's kind of like the cognitive dissonance here is like they're literally advocating for their argument is the Democratic Party is essentially black women's party, and that they are not included in the group. But then here they are saying, well, these people see themselves as their own group. Like they don't really see the disconnect in the sense of, hey, the majority of black people vote in the Democratic Party, yet you say that like now your argument from them is, hey, black men aren't represented in that. Like they kind of have the same argument, if that makes sense.
Yeah, because you could say that in the Republican Party, right? That black men are not reflected within the party. You're not even allowed to even identify as a black man in the Republican Party at all, like because they don't play identity politics to that extent. And so they think that going over there is going to somehow give them leverage. But if you don't have a voice over there either, I mean, it's easy to look at Tim Scott and see how that's working out for him. They don't see black conservatives within the party. They just see the party itself, and that's it. And they think that that's a good place for black men to go to. But you're sacrificing your whole entire makeup as a black man to go over there too. It's really strange. Let me finish playing this out.
On that.
My bad for cut you off. Yeah, the problem is we're like outside of like whatever people think about what other quote unquote cultural enemies that black people have, right? And the funny thing about it is it's not just like black or Hispanics. It's like we're dealing with too many different tribal groups, I guess you can say, the LGBT, then it's the radical feminists and all that. And that's what's basically creating most of the problems. The females have created a coalition with every subversive group that has ever popped up. And now, as you said before, all of the whole like woke gender-based movements where all of the movies are collapsing, everything's falling apart is because they're going against the natural order. If we want to collectively go ahead.
Take a shower, man. We gotta go.
Go ahead, Devin. Go ahead, Devin. Devin. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Devin.
Thank you, brother. We got to do this, man. The Black American Party. We got to stand on our own feet. We got to have our own voice, regardless of who agrees with us or disagrees with us, regardless of whether we have people in office, whether we have allies. We got to stop looking for friends. We got to stop trying to appeal to people and try to get them to love or like us. And we need to stop looking for, quote, unquote, good white folks, because that's a myth. It's a myth, man. Everybody's looking out for their own. We have to stand on our own 2 feet, and we have to represent ourselves with our own party, no matter how big or how small that is, because it's obvious that the black vote is needed. It's needed. It's needed. So we have to stand up and have a cohesive message where we say, yo, this is our platform, whether it be reparations, whether it be whatever, right? Put our platform together with our own voice and put it out there. And if you want our vote, this is the line you got to toe. We got to stop letting the HBC coons represent us. We got to get off of that. We got to get off.
I know, but
here's
the
You know, is it me or does that shirt, the avatar on that shirt look just like a PhD?
Is this a Dave Chappelle skit? Like what?
It's like they just showed up on planet Earth. Politics befuddles them. It's not like anybody else has dealt with politics before, and they want to start over from zero. So you want to create this new group where you don't have representation anywhere, and just because it's your group, like the Black Manosphere, I guess, you're your own representative. Like, all right, man, like this stuff isn't gonna work. But let them sit there and let them think that this is gonna work and just separate from them. That's all I got to say.
Yeah. Go ahead, Zoe.
Yeah. And the thing is, so just what Renaissance Man said earlier, like these guys also believe that do for self thing, where it's like, pull up your bootstraps and, we can, gather some money and get our own super PACs and, lobby for Black men's rights. But it's like, they don't look at the numbers. They don't see the disparity in the Black community. It's just like what MLT was saying. It's just buzzwords. They be saying buzzwords and making your own political party. I mean, they've been talking about this, Mike V, since the manager since I think even before 2016. It won't work. It won't work. You basically become a minority party that has no funding, no influence, and you're starting all over. I don't know. They're all over the place.
Yeah, it won't work because there's too much political illiteracy within this discussion as it stands. I mean, you heard earlier this guy talking about, the president works for the Treasury and whatnot. It's just really strange, ideas of democracy that doesn't exist in reality. We're dealing for a special type of Negro.
Well, yeah, I was going to say the whole political party thing, it makes no sense because it's like, okay, like the Black community or Black America is largely concentrated in like select states. So you're not going to even get ballot access in probably the majority of states, if we're being honest, for your party. So you're going to have a party that's not even like recognized nationally. And then like, I don't know, what are you thinking, hey, if you have your own political party, what do you kind of just do like the Green Party and, or, all these other smaller parties and like not really win any seats in Congress? It makes no sense. Then like you lose all your seniority and your precedence. So you can't get people on committees and none of it makes any sense. Who's going to fund this? You can tell these guys are just like, basically, this is people basically drawing on the whiteboard here with no real intent to go and implement any of this. Because it passed so many basic logic tests.
It's not even a whiteboard. It's
white markers on the whiteboard. That's what it is.
It's not even a whiteboard. It's a napkin. It's a napkin. It's not a whiteboard. Let me finish playing this out.
Thing with that's more or less what Cube was trying to do. But then, like I just played the clip.
The women got in the way.
They was on some we need something there specific for women and blah blah blah. So like they don't view Black America.
Yeah, and
I got Q's back.
You need to get the women in check. You're not gonna go nowhere if the women are doing all this crazy. Think about it. Like all of these other channels talking about what's going on with women specifically, the booty clapping, going to other countries, doing other crazy shit. They out of fucking pocket. If you want to deal with whatever enemies that we're dealing with right now, get the women in check, and then you can have the Black party or whatever. Like me personally, I'm not really into that. I'm a dyed-in-the-wool fuck Republican conservative, right? And generally speaking, the only reason why I come onto these channels when I'm dealing with Black people is my interests and my concerns in terms of policy benefit everybody. And I think that's the problem. We keep thinking it's just Black people have their own. No, I mean, do you want lower taxes? Yes. Do you want to close up the border? Should you want to close up the freaking border so that Black people and minorities don't have to compete against people that were not born in this country? Yes. But the problem is
I mean, this is interesting. Obama deported more people than any other president before him, but somehow he's the weirdo liberal. But Trump couldn't even match those numbers, but yet he's a hero.
This is just an online conversation with ignorant ass people who don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
They have to come to this panel to have this discussion. If they try to have this discussion anywhere else, people are going to think they're insane. So just let them stay over there, man. It's not even this many people. I know none of them live in a high area that it takes a lot of money to actually live, for instance. Dude, just let them feel represented, because that's what they want anyway.
Yeah.
They just want to feel represented.
Yeah, and the one weird thing is, like, if you say woke, I mean the woke is now the the Republican code word to kind of, it's kind of the N word that they kind of use that to say, like, oh, this movie is woke. Anything with Black people is woke. So I find it weird, like, these Black conservatives say that, but then they want to fight white supremacy, but then are members of a party that represents white supremacy. I don't know. At the end of the day, Mike, these niggas don't read. That's just what it is.
You have all of these sub interests that aren't really fucking issues. It's just made up shit that the Democrat Party gets you focused on, that tricks you into not understanding.
I think the dude who was talking about the Black American Party is right, but for a different reason. I think it needs to just be more or less of a think tank, like not a think tank, but an actual consensus maker, and then break huddle. And when it comes to the U.S. elections, you still have these two, maybe three or four choices, but at least now you know what you're looking for internally as you go into I call it international, because we're all just a ton of different nationalities from around the world. So I consider it voting amongst the world when I vote in the U.S. election. But I 100% agree with the Black American Party. I think the party part is one of the things that'll probably divide people. I think Congress is probably a little bit too strong of a word, but definitely something to establish a way to make a consensus to say, hey, a majority or whatever percentage of people agree with just this proposal. So that
here's the problem with that.
If I could chime in real quick,
we need to be against legal and illegal.
I need to be against anybody who thinks black. That's who I'm against. Everybody.
Who's the one that said illegal and legal immigration?
I did. Devin Lockett, the Black American.
That thinking, that's what I'm talking about. That makes sense. I might not agree with that, but the fact that he understands that part, the illegal, the part, the function of, hey, that benefits everybody, that we understand the ramifications of illegal immigration or illegal, whatever the hell it is. That's the problem. When you're talking to groups, quote unquote, groups of people, right? It's like there's disconnect between understanding complexities of why the F were you voting for this group?
Right.
Do they not realize that the whole amnesty policy came out of the Reagan administration?
Yeah.
Like, what part don't they understand about this?
I'm a die in a war conservative. Okay.
And the thing that kills me is, like, these people are against the migrants, because I hear them all the time, are against the migrants. There's some Black people that are part of that are migrants too. So. And the other thing is, they don't understand, like, okay, why these people are coming here. You don't know what they're fleeing from. You don't know, I'm Haitian. A lot of Haitians are fleeing because they're escaping gang violence, because conservative laws in Florida and Texas make it easy to get weapons of war, and they fled to Haiti. But they don't make that connection. They don't make that connection. They don't make that connection that Mexico has a cartel. Has a drug war where the cartels have weapons of war that come from these conservative states. They never make the correlation. Don't you think these people are fleeing because some of your party's own policies causing, chaos and destruction in those countries. So these people have to flee. But they never put two and two. I guess that's too big thinking for these.
Well, the reality is that those people that come to this country to work are contributing to the economy that is going to be necessary for when these jokers ever reach the age of retirement, that their Social Security can be funded. But you can't seem to get these guys to have any sort of rational thought. It's hard to understand how you can reach 40, 50, 60 years old and think like this. I consider these people to be a threat to national security with this way of thinking, because they're very anti-democratic. They don't believe in democracy at all. If you just listen to them talk, they're trying to rearrange the whole entire democratic structure to their liking without understanding how the system even works. It's a really strange.
From the standpoint of a new minority.
Yeah.
A new minority is going to get all this stuff done. Across state lines, without nobody else being involved in the election, just them. Like they literally think that they get to be assigned power. Like, this is not a parliamentary system.
Yeah. Let me finish playing this.
When everything that they're promoting, every policy,
everything they promote
is against you. That's the thing that irritates me.
That's why, if I could chime in real quick.
People spend all of it. That shit. When I have arguments with my friends, yeah, my bad. I'll get
no, bro. I appreciate your vigor. I love a young conservative fry, Brian. I absolutely do. Couple of things, right? Let me tell you why I vote Republican when I vote. Okay. Because the problem on the left is that niggas are tied to the Democrat Party emotionally, right?
Yes, sir.
When I came to this space, and this is kind of a famous incident, there was a dude that came up here, lost his shit on me because I was a conservative. I started speaking. My first stream I did with Bernard Riley was why I'm voting for Donald Trump over 4 years ago. All right. And
actually, that's not what happened. MOT questioned your credentials as to being a conservative, and what it turned out to be is that you were a lunatic. MOT.
I asked him to talk about a policy or leave the panel. That's what he did.
Yep.
Left the panel and wanted me to apologize to him, which I don't apologize to lunatics. I mean, the problem is that these people are so dishonest. And guess what? He kept calling for debates, never debated anybody. Ever. He always wanted to call people out, never wanted to debate anybody. Always turned down debate because that's what it is. These people are radicalized. You separate them from their dogma, which cannot be debated, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
You ask them to talk about things of substance and they can't do it.
Mm-hmm.
Because they're not used to someone. They're not used to someone asking them questions. Like, they think they can just give these grand pronouncements and like no one's going to question this stuff. And it's like, nah, if you're going to tell us, hey, we need to go shift away from something we've been doing, like, you need to lay out the rationale so people understand it.
Yeah.
And they don't want to, they can't do that.
Go ahead.
But that's reflective. But so this point, Mike. But that's reflective of the modern Republican base. Like, I mean, these are black men, but I mean, they've done interviews of white Trump supporter, Latino Trump supporter, and they all stumble too when it comes to debating.
Yeah, let me finish playing this.
This is why I vote Republican. So, because it's the socioeconomic environment that is most favorable to the productive class. And it is the productive class that drives the engine of our country, gives us our jobs, gives us your malls with 70 stores, gives you your 30 different brands of bread in the grocery store.
Yes, sir.
That is what's important.
Okay, let me tell you why it's not important.
Bro, let me finish, please.
Okay.
So when the gentleman was up here, brother Dr. Thunder, I'm hearing things about the Democrat Party. There is, in my personal opinion, there is nothing that can make up for 23 million dead black children and the Democrats cheering it on. There's nothing that can, let me finish. There's nothing that can make up for the Democrat Party promoting the destruction of the two-parent black household. There's nothing that compensates. I don't care about your goddamn voting rights. I don't care about some little affirmative action initiative that was done. Nothing that they've done replaces the evil that they promote.
Okay.
I did a stream the other day that American black women are the white liberals' #1 flunky. And guess who's #2? Black American men. Black men that vote Democrat, you are following black female leadership, period.
Right.
So that's why I'm so
Here's why it doesn't.
I agree with that, but tell me the right.
Okay, so whose leadership are you following under the Republican Party? Because clearly, clearly there are no black women over there, right?
Well, the other thing that's wrong with his logic too, in two arguments is, first of all, he talked about Republicans driving the economic engine. I mean, California is I believe, the 4th largest economy in the world. You know, last time I checked, that's a blue state. And if you look at, the places Biden won, like, I think it's like 70% of the GDP is good. Like, if you looked at who won, like, Democrats won like 70% of the GDP of America. Like, so his argument on economics doesn't make sense. And then when he makes the argument of, oh, okay, I'm essentially anti-abortion, I'm like, dude, that's something that there is no national ban on. That it's a state-by-state issue. And that, if there ever was one, it would essentially be something that the majority of people would be against. So now you're already showing like you don't even really believe in democracy in that regard. Like you pretty much want the idea. You want to talk about individual rights and free choice, but then you want to take away people's like free choice. Like that's where he doesn't even see that contradiction in his argument. He's making a moral argument.
Exactly, and he's talking about the destruction of the black family, this and that. What about Ronald Reagan? What his war on drugs and Reaganomics? That did a lot of damage, to the black community. Nixon's war on drugs as well. Like they act like Democrats only did like mass incarceration. Meanwhile, they ignore that, at that time period, Republicans were some of the most like pro law enforcement, very, very dogmatic when it came to the war on drugs. But yeah, Democrats were somehow behind it.
The drug war is one factor, but that's not the total factor. The biggest factor was the social programs that came out of the 60s and under Carter, for that matter. Reagan reversed a lot of that stuff, and so that's why you started to see a decline in economic opportunities for black men during that time. It wasn't just a drug war. It was the policies of the Reagan administration that helped destroy a lot of the upward mobility that black men and more importantly, the black family would have benefited from. But these guys don't want to talk about that. That's why we need to get rid of all the legal people and illegal people. How do you get rid of legal people that are in this country if they have citizenship? Doesn't make a whole lot of sense. And so that's the sort of stuff that I'm talking about. Like, revisionist history, just making up stuff as they go along, trying to redefine what democracy is and don't really believe in democracy, but let's make up something new. I find that these people are a threat to national security.
Without talking about the left.
Okay, so here's the thing. I'll help you out with that. Here's the thing. This is why it doesn't matter if either one of you are staunch Republicans. This is why it doesn't matter. I appreciate that you are. This is why it doesn't matter.
I'm not a Republican. I use the Republican Party.
Okay, conservative. This is why it doesn't matter. This is why it doesn't matter. Because, and I got to shout out to Hood Conservative for this, because he actually made me do some research. Do you know that if you repeal the 19th, that 46 of the 50 states are Republican already? Do you know that if you take away just simply the black woman's votes?
Hold on a second. Hold on a second, man.
Before he takes something away? Before he takes something away? Oh, okay.
This dude wants to repeal the 19th Amendment away from the very daughters of the white men in these parties. And you think they're going to go along with this?
But hey, Conservative make you go do research, right?
Unbelievable.
What is going on here?
Unbelievable. This is what passes. This is what passes as intellectual discussion in this space now. This is what passes as intellectual discussion in this space. So there you have it.
No. For those people who are on the conservative side, because you're not voting to change anything anyway, so you can just make shit up as you go along, throw out buzzwords, because you're not going to be fighting for anything tangible. Everything that you fight for is literally not going to happen. You're not going to have a voice over there. So at the end of the day, I say just let these niggas be dumb. Let them be dumb. They seem so happy on these panels where people get to actually listen to them for one time in their life, only in the morning and only on this panel. I say let them just be happy over there. Let them be happy and make sure that you copy down every single city to where they live at, and make sure you just don't fucking live there. Leave it up to them to be where they are.
So, because there's a difference between the 19th, which lets women vote, but that didn't include black women. Black women can't vote on an amendment. Black women vote on an act. The Black Voters Act is for women. If you take it away, black men can still vote because of the 13th Amendment and 14th Amendment. Black women's vote is benevolence by America. So even if you just don't ratify the Black Voting Act, so black women can't vote, you're at 39 of 50 states being Republican. So you voting how you vote is in accordance to how most heterosexual men and women who want a husband vote.
Yes, sir.
You know what I'm saying? So that's not once again. So now you guys have the wrong enemy because you keep playing crayon games. You understand what I'm saying?
White liberal is our enemy. I'm sorry.
Let him finish. Let him finish. I want to hear this.
No, okay.
Well, basically, he's saying the voting block, the Democrat voting block, it's female in a sense. That's basically what he's saying. We're not crayon.
Why would it not be female if the party upholds their interests? Why would it? What's so difficult about understanding that? What do you think they're going to vote? You think you really think that it makes sense for AOC to join up with Marjorie Taylor Greene and be a part of the Republican Party? What logic is that, man?
And once again, you're dividing it because, like, okay, if you're going to say that's the voting block, isn't the second voting block black men? Like, it's kind of truth be told, it's kind of how every Republican runs into this, but black Republicans especially, people don't call it out as much, but it's almost a backhanded compliment to black, or it's not even backhanded compliment. It's down talking and playing down black people's intelligence. It's making it sound like, okay, like, oh, it's like you'll hear Republicans say, oh, well, why do 90% of black people vote for the Democratic Party? Like, why do people have all the same opinion? It's like, you don't find that anywhere. That's not healthy or things like that. And it's like, dude, people are smart enough to realize, like, yeah, we may not agree on everything, but we understand, like, we're in a hostile environment and people are against us. And it's just, you're like I said, you're really talking down and insulting the intelligence of people when you sit up here and act like, 90% or, of a group of people just don't know what they're doing.
This is domestic terrorism talk, because what they're talking about doing is attacking a specific demographic of people within the country for their political standings.
And removing all of their power for what reason, I have no idea.
To bring back the black family. That's what he just said, to bring back the black family. You want to sit down with a group of women who have no interest in you and force them to talk to you and to deal with you to salvage a community that you say was already finished to begin with by taking away their right to vote in their economic opportunities. Lunatics, terrorists.
And one guy in the space, when you ask them, when you talk about initiatives for black boys and things like that, they'll say things like, well, why should I do it? It's like, wait, I thought you were pro-black and cared about the community. Like, but now you're sitting up here saying, why should you X, Y, and Z? None of it makes sense.
I'm telling you, man, the Negro Taliban. That's what these guys are.
I'd rather him tell me what he's saying.
Together? What was that?
I do want to, I want him to explain who is it that we think is the enemy that's not the enemy.
Okay, so if you say black, once again, so if you say black, the black political party, who exactly is the black? Are we talking about everybody with melanated skin, the Africans, the American black? Who is the black? Because we all have, because Nigerians are only black when they go to jail. When they not in jail, they Nigerian like a motherfucker. and they don't even deal with American black.
That's facts.
Yeah,
That's why I've always said I'm against this idea. And shout out to Devin. Salute Devin. I appreciate him being up. But yeah, I'm just personally, I'm opposed to the third party idea. Like I said earlier, how about we just get this group of very productive, motivated black men that are invested in this country, who are part of this country. Like I said, if any political figure that is America first, I'm going to benefit because I'm an American. Now, there are those who don't feel that they're American, and that's fine. I'm going to benefit because whoever's America first, I plan on being on that ship that starts to rise. Okay. I don't need them to be black America first. I just need them to be America first. I'll figure out the rest. Thank you.
The biggest issue I hear in the political conversations is that everybody starts with the premise that everybody else is going to do something in their behalf without understanding that, or without articulating. There you go, even better. Without articulating, they're going to have to make a trade-off, right? And all I want people to know or think of in the front of their mind is what's the with them or what's in it for the other party. You know what I'm saying? Because if you want something, you're probably going to have to give something up, some kind of exchange. It doesn't necessarily have to be an even exchange, and a lot of times it's not going to be. But, just think about the with them. So, you know what I'm saying? Like, some stuff is going to be a harder sell than others. And like
what?
Like the border stuff, that's an easy sell for America in general. Like there's a
so easy. Trump so easy. Trump sold you niggas on it and do anything about it. Where's that money at?
Where's the wall?
Yeah, where's the wall? Where's the money, man? That money went into somebody else's pockets, man, and took off with it, man. You guys like, oh man, they can buy you for $10, man, and get you up out of here.
but here's the problem. The problem is that they just simply don't know how anything works and refusing to learn how anything works. I mean, I don't know how you could be able to help these people.
What you're hearing is a lot of autism on the panel. A lot of guys just, learning disabled, political ignorance, political literacy issues, trying to redefine what America is and is not, and what the Democrats are doing, and let's listen to what the rest of this is about.
A number of other issues,
sir, because you know the Latinos are our allies against white supremacy.
Yeah, right.
It's not easy.
We all know that's not true.
The legally white Latinos are fighting the white. Okay, all right.
So let me ask
you. They are our allies.
Go ahead, keep it 100. Go ahead, keep it 100. I want to hear keep it 100.
Let me ask you a question, because when everybody that votes, right? You vote for the party. I guess I'm thinking maybe I'm naive, right? You vote for the party that serves your interests, right? Mm-hmm. Why is it that? And I find it very interesting that when black men in particular, no other group, black men say, "How are you serving my interests?" That turns into, "Oh, you want motherfuckers to love you." Right?
No.
I know. I hear that. Before anybody jumps in,
let him lay it out.
I hear this implied a lot. It ain't about, loving me, hugging me, all this other corny shit, all this appeal to emotional bullshit.
Get your hand in my pocket.
If it's the politician's job to serve the people that voted for him, and everybody else can demand that he do that, or they'll withdraw their support.
Okay, here's why that doesn't work. You're right, but this is why it doesn't work. How many people know who their local politician is? Everybody know who the president is because colors think the president is a king.
That's your responsibility.
Yeah, dumbass.
What the fuck? What the fuck? What the flying fuck?
Shameless.
Unbelievable, man. This and they
ignorance on top.
Yeah, and they think they can bring women back to the table by taking away their right to vote, so they can sit down and have a conversation with a nigga who doesn't know who his elected officials are. Unbelievable, man.
It doesn't make sense. How are you going to bring
I understand
women
that,
to the table
address my question first.
The politician's job is to look out for the best interest of the bondholder.
What I don't want to do is go past the direct question.
Completely radicalized. Can't answer a simple fucking question. You have to respond with dogma.
Yeah.
They just powered past Keeper 100's question. He asked simple, straightforward questions. And these people responded with just being radicalized. It's crazy.
That I'm asking.
This is the redress. No, I'll help you out. This is the redress. It's not that you want somebody to hug you. It's not that I know the people who say that. Those are the people who don't know who their local politicians are.
Those are Democrats.
What happens is
it ain't that simple.
Okay.
They're not just Democrats.
Appeal to emotion. That's why they have to have these single mothers led homes, because everybody is thinking emotionally like these women.
It's not just Democrats.
How can you say that it's people who vote for Democrats if the numbers are significantly higher for the Democrats than they are for Republicans? How can you say that? It doesn't make any sense. Of course, they're voting for those people because they know who they are. Why?
How do women get to be part of the conversation with that specific of a question? How do you respond with women and single mothers? With that specific of a question, how do you respond with that?
Unbelievable.
It comes down to, I don't know. It just comes down to, sex. That's what it comes down to. Anything these guys talk about, it just comes down to access to sex. Like nothing serious, nothing to lead the Black community into the future.
Because the only way for them to engage women is to disenfranchise them. That's the only way for them to deal with them.
Someone give it to you, bro.
Politics is a business of business. Everybody thinks it's about after school programs and holes in the sidewalk. It's the business.
Black people think it's about that.
Okay.
Other people don't think it's about that.
Okay, black people, right?
Yes, sir.
So politics is the business of business. I have to come through and I say this is my policy.
The job of every politician is to look out for the best interest of the bondholder. Every political office literally represents a bond out there in the market. Period.
So my job is, can I make you money, save you money, or save you time? You know what I'm saying? Can I be the king of the colors so you don't have to worry about the colors, and in exchange you give me a UN slot so I get a license plate with 2 letters so I never get pulled over again? That's the exchange. Can I go in here and say, look, I want to supply every municipal building with my soap, and in exchange I'll give you an executive what do they call it, advisory role that you never have to show up for, but it pays $30,000 a year.
Yeah.
Right. That is my job. That is why I talk to the politicians. And then hit the block and drink tequila. But I talk to the politicians because I'm trying to figure out how we can make a win-win situation.
Yes,
you only make win-win situations, and this is going to sound sexist, but I don't care because I'm in Chicago. I know how it works. You can only make win-win situations with men. That we both walk away from the table with 80% of what we want. And we both feel like we didn't get taken advantage of.
Understand this. I like what you're saying, but it's not the answer to my question.
Yeah.
What
is the answer to your question?
I can answer it.
All right, Nate, go ahead and answer. Nate. Go ahead and hold on. Nate, go ahead and answer Keep 100 question. Just ask it again so everybody can be clear about the question. It probably got lost in what the question was. So go ahead and ask it again.
When it comes to politics, everyone could vote their interests. They can express their interests, or they can express disinterest in either a party or a politician that is not serving their interests. But in the peculiar case of Black men, when we ask for this from either side, let me point that out, from either side, it becomes, oh, you want people to love you. Oh, you want friends. You want this. You want somebody to pat you on the back. You want a back massage and all this corny shit. Everyone else gets to do that. When we ask for something for our vote, it becomes this gaslight of why you want something. Why you need this? Why you need love and a hug and all this stupid shit?
Oh, okay, I can answer that.
No. No. We go ahead, Nate.
All right, no problem, man. I want to hear what Dirty has to say too.
The one is that you're aligning with people that's not.
No. God, let me go first, Dirty. All
right, that was all right. Go ahead,
first, bro.
It depends.
No, he was about to tell Keep It 100 that he was aligning with people that's not with his interests. If Keep It 100 aligned himself with women, which is not true. Like,
no, I didn't.
Yeah, I definitely didn't do that, and I say that in every conversation. But then motherfuckers gaslight back in the other direction.
Go ahead, Nate.
Very clear in where I stand, bro. Very clear. But go ahead, Nate.
The only time I say stuff like that is when brothers use words like, there was a cat up here a few months ago that said, man, they don't give a fuck about us. And I said, who's they? We have been conditioned as Black men to expect things from politicians that other people don't ask for. Let me tell you what I'm talking about. Keep it 100. Other races ask for tax breaks. They ask for special consideration for contracts for their business. Black people want stupid shit like equality. Black people want a fair society. Black people want justice. These pure, retarded things that nobody can give us.
Justice is retarded?
Yeah, justice. Something as obscure as justice. Okay?
It's not obscure.
No, it's very obscure.
Abstract.
You know what justice is? You know what justice is?
I'll respond
Justice is whatever the judge decides. That's justice. Okay? Justice isn't something that's going to make us feel good at the end of the day. It's whatever the judge or the jury decides. That's what justice is.
Feel good.
You got to fight.
That's not what justice is.
Yeah, let me finish.
We can't even measure.
Keep it. Let me finish. When we need to ask for things that other groups of people ask for, specific things that can lead to certain results. Black people ask for these weird, obscure things that nobody can give us. Nobody can give you freedom and fairness and justice and equality. Nobody can give us those things. Let's be honest. Over the last 60 years, that's mostly what we've been asking for.
So can I respond to some of that?
All right,
you got something else you want to say?
No, I'm good.
I've been asking for the work.
First of all, the 14th Amendment, the 13th Amendment, and the 15th Amendment debate are justice amendments within the Constitution.
This is a guy who's a constitutional conservative. Just keep that in mind.
Yeah, unbelievable. Unbelievable.
But
class tax break. Fuck.
Go ahead, keep it 100.
If Black people could ask for that, that means I'm absolutely.
I would like to respond. I want to wait till everyone goes. I want to respond, but I want to wait till everyone goes.
Keep It 100 is responding right now. Go ahead, keep it 100.
Okay. All right. So this is the reason. Go ahead, man.
In reference to just the justice part, right? I mean, you said a lot of stuff, but I don't want to. I mean, there's other people, but I don't think justice is retarded, because when we see things happen to other folks, like LGBT, like this group, that group, we see things happen, right? So it's not just about what's being asked for; it's about how certain groups or certain politicians or parties react to how certain people are treated, right? So it's not about equality, because I don't believe in equality. There's no such thing. I just want to make that clear. But when it comes to justice, if there are laws on the books, right, then those laws need to apply to everyone. So how about this? The Second Amendment, right? And I always go to this. The Second Amendment, right to bear arms, right? We know that there's certain ways that Black men can't carry the way other groups can carry. We know this. Okay? We know this. It's not even an argument, right? Now, to say, well, you know what? I'm conservative and I believe in the right to bear arms. I believe in that. And the conservatives and the Republicans agree with that. But they don't agree with my ability to exercise that right as they do. And this is the thing I always point out. We somehow think that no, bro, don't eat.
He is correct. I
can give you a little pushback on that.
No, don't give me the pushback yet.
No. I said, go ahead. But there's something I want to make you aware of.
Well,
let me
make
ask
me
you this.
aware of it in a second. What I'm saying is, at the end of the day, if this was about exercising things as they are written in the books for the same people that you're saying, if you're saying vote for these people, and this is why I don't really support the NRA, even though I support the Second Amendment, is because when these things happen, or when you need the support of the motherfuckers you're paying dues to, then you need a friend, you need a hug, you need allies, you need all this emotional shit. And people say this to men to make them feel soft and to shame them. It's shaming language, right? At the end of the day, if I'm paying your dues or voting for you, then you need to exercise for me the same way you exercise for everyone else. And that's what justice is, right? It's not abstract. It's very objective. It's very real.
Right,
you understand what I'm saying?
That's not how it works.
It's not how it works.
Seconds.
But bro, you're right. It's not how it works, and that's why I don't believe in that.
That's not how it
Real
should
quick.
work.
Go ahead, Nate.
60 seconds. Real quick for my man Keith. Number one, I agree the NRA should have came out in full support of Philando Castile. They absolutely should. They dropped the fucking ball on that. That was absolutely wrong. I give you that. But
And
number
they
two,
they just dropped it on the Travis Rudolph or Randolph when he shot those guys.
They should have came to his aid too.
Yeah, they don't. That is true. Keep on right. They
I'm
don't.
telling you.
Balls.
Yeah.
Telling you. I'm the one that brought it up. The conservatives. But let me point this out. Could the reason why a black man carrying his AR-15 and a white man carrying his AR-15 have something to do with 6% of the population being responsible for 50% of the murders and 53% of the crime?
There we go.
Oh, you saying we would? Hold on. You saying black
here
men?
we go, bro, but it's the truth.
Hold on. You saying it would be bad PR for the NRA to be supporting black men?
No. Right. I'm not saying that. No.
It would.
No, what I'm saying. No, let me finish just real quick. What I'm saying is that is probably the root of why black men are getting dealt with differently than white guys that might be walking down the street with an AR-15.
I don't even
Exactly. The U.S. Constitution has always been a bridge for black men.
I'm waiting for you in Chicago. I'm waiting to hear Chicago.
It's my last bit. This is my last bit. Black people want to complain. Black people want to complain about corrupt police. But what black people have to understand that in a community of corruption, you're going to have corrupt police. You're more inclined to have corrupt police and corrupt politicians in a community that's corrupt. In a community that doesn't have two-parent households and a high dropout rate and all this other shit.
So let me ask you this, because Dirty Folks earlier was talking about local politics. And I know this.
Go ahead, Moti.
Oh my God.
I'm like, this dude just justified. Like, that's not how it works. Dude, they just don't respect you having a gun, period. That's what it is. And if you locked up for life without the possibility of parole, every time a police officer approached a black dude who was open carrying, there would be equality. You've never seen the police check that many white dudes, especially in open carry states. Tamir Rice, John Crawford. Well, actually, the police are not punished in Ohio, okay? That's just the way it is. Doesn't matter what they do, doesn't matter how bad it is, they're never going to get fired. They're always going to be protected, period, because this is a conservative state, all right? So at the end of the day, they don't respect the laws that are even on the books. They're okay with actually just doing whatever they want to based on who the clientele is. Like, that's what conservatism is. And he just justified it and gaslit, fucking keep it 100 to his face after he told him not to do it. And he kept doing it. Like, I don't understand it. It's almost like he wants to justify all things that are happening to black people, but never want to justify whites' actions toward black people. But that's part of his conservatism. I don't know, man. It's just too much.
Go ahead, so.
And he basically espoused like white supremacist talking points, saying like, oh, well, it's 5%, 5% of the population committing, 50% of the crime. Like, that's the talking point conservatives use, like basically justifying police brutality, which is essentially shut up, take it because you guys are committing the crimes. That's That's I can't believe a black man would even say that. And these are the same guys who say, "Oh, we have to fight white supremacy," but then they spout these talking. I don't. I don't know.
Don't try to figure it. Don't try to figure out. Let's just play the rest of it.
Man.
You know, these sorts of talking points come up. It's like we lean on the Chicago gangbanger crime stats, right?
I'm offended, yo.
Right. So understand this. Now, don't be offended, but understand this. So my ability, right, to practice the Second Amendment is predicated on YAB whatever you know, dude up in, you know, whatever GD or whoever's in Chicago shooting at each other. And so I should understand that my situation is going to be.
Wait, hold on.
I'm talking to Nate, bro.
Hold on.
Who's saying hold on?
I don't know. I think it's the person with the blackout box. You need to turn.
So what I'm saying is, so as a black man, I should understand that I will be dealt with differently, right? Because some gangbang motherfucker in Chicago is shooting some other gangbang dude in Chicago, rising the black crime rate. So I should understand, in a place that's hundreds of miles, thousands of miles away from that place, I should understand that my rights are compromised because those dudes over there acting up.
I say, Marcus, like you're right, and that like that.
I'm
that's
right, but however,
no, I'm saying that's bullshit. It shouldn't be the case. It shouldn't be the case.
Are you aspects of carrying a gun? Are you talking about the legal aspects of carrying a gun?
What I'm saying is this. Listen, again, it's still my question has not been answered. Why is it that when I address these things and I call these things out when it comes to how things are carried out, whether it be in the courts or, you know, politicians, protecting certain rights of certain groups of people that are not being protected, then that turns into I'm some soft dude. I'm emotional. I want people to like me and all this other nonsense. Yes, I do hold guns. That's a fucking irrelevant question. Stop asking dumb shit, bro.
Have you read the book Kill a Mockingbird?
Get out of here, man. See, this is what I'm talking about.
I mean, you know, when you're right, man. And keep it 100 started the conversation by letting him know not to do that shit. And then he turned around and did it anyway.
Like, why would you ask all the legal aspects of like carrying a gun legally? Like, you know what he's talking about. Like, come on.
I mean, the Supreme Court already made their decision that, you know, everybody has the right to, you know, to carry a firearm. They can't be denied license. So let's finish listening to the last 5 minutes of this.
Like, have you been privy to what?
Because it's
wait a minute. Hold on. Yeah. Wait a minute. Hey. Keep on. What was that last part you said? You said somebody had said something or asked a dumb question. What was you talking about?
Freeman's journal is in the chat. He said, "Does he even own guns?" And this is what this is the dumb shit that it goes into, where I'm asking a legitimate question and it goes into this shaming. Does he even own? Do you even lift, bro? How about that?
Yeah,
like it's all stupid shit.
Ignore the chat. Ignore the chat.
No, keep it 100. I think you're going back to your original question when black men start talking about their best interest and supporting their best interest, and then it could get flipped into, you know, you want somebody to like you, or you got your hand out and all of this. I think Nate answered in a roundabout way. I think he answered your question that some of the stuff, not all of it, but some of the stuff that black people be talking about, it don't be, you know, actual concrete, tangible things that other groups ask for.
Oh, really? George Floyd Justice and Policing Act? That's not tangible?
Yeah.
Reparations isn't tangible? Reparations isn't tangible?
Like doing something about like miscarriages of justice within the criminal justice system.
Yeah, Office of Civil Rights.
yeah, or like trying to do things like promote economic, because Nate like tries to go to the economic angle, but I mean like Stacey Abrams' platform of saying, hey, I want to give financing to businesses so they can basically go and compete for these contracts. Like that's tangible. That's something other groups would want. Like, down payment assistance programs for like increased Black home ownership. I'm not sure what he's talking about as far as like, other than him just trying to make an emotional appeal, kind of do the same thing that this brother's pointed out of, oh, well, they make it sound like, hey, Black people say, hey, we want like equal protection under the law, at some level of objectivity within the court system. And these people act like, it's, other groups don't ask for that. Yeah, they don't have to. They already have it. Like,
I know what the problem is. I mean, America's perfect. And if you complain about America, then you must be a liberal. Like, that's the type of standpoint that they go at this shit from, man. And it ruins all of their arguments because you literally can't talk about anything that's wrong with the country.
It's that same George Bush argument. It's that same argument George Bush tried, that happened around the Bush era. Like, if you said anything against, the Iraq War or something, like, you were unpatriotic and un-American.
Yeah.
Like, it's that same sort
you
of
support the troops.
Yeah.
Yeah. Finish playing this.
It normally does just reek of, wanting that hug that we.
But understand,
B. You talked. Hold on, but real quick. You did talk about it from more of a tangible standpoint, and a Black man who legally owns a gun and has it to protect himself, he shouldn't, he should nothing legally come against him for that reason. Now, if you're talking about getting something in place that protects a Black man who legally owns a gun, and make sure that he ain't gonna, be frisked or be charged or no bullshit, then
be shot up in the driver's seat of his car.
Or exactly. Okay, yeah. I think most people will get behind and support that.
Oh yeah, which people? Name people in the Republican Party who would get behind something like that. Name them.
If it's made clear and precise like that, I think what it is. I thought, wait, real quick. I think what it is that a lot of the stuff that Black people want. This goes back to my problem. Even though I understand the spirit of what he's trying to say, but when Devin was talking about the Black American Party or whatever, when you look at Black politics, all of that shit, it ends up being something where it's helping women with their children, basically incentivizing.
You mean human rights? You mean like early child care credit benefits? You mean like Head Start? Things that have been known to actually benefit children within this country? For all these the anti-abortion talk, I would think that you would support early child care development programs. I would think you would support, free lunches and breakfast at schools programs and whatnot. I mean, I would think you would support that.
Or all the talk about, improving the, basically wanting to put the families back together, all this rhetoric, but then, oh gosh, this is going to benefit children. I mean, they literally are using the same thing that or fall in the same trap that these other conservatives fall into, essentially of, oh, I'm pro-family, anti-abortion, all this. And then, as soon as, we have something like a child tax credit and a vote comes up, everybody's all of a sudden voting against this, even though this is giving like, like $200, $300 extra a month for each child someone has and reducing child poverty by 50%. All of a sudden, people want to vote against this stuff. It makes no sense.
Exactly. And they support the same party that vote against the same stuff. But then these guys are not for it. As you said, Renaissance man, it doesn't compute. And I'm gonna take your advice, Mike B. I'm not gonna try to make it make sense because it just doesn't make any sense.
No, let me finish playing this last 3 minutes of it.
Subsidizing and enabling baby mamas to be more comfortable in their baby mama-ism. And it's it's helping dudes, like the kids that they raise that grow up and become criminals is gonna get nuck out of jail sooner. You know,
Right.
like that's black politics.
But
right. So like, is it really Bernard? If anybody has Bernard's email, please send him an email and let him know. We'd like to have him on the panel. Just let him know.
I agree with
grown legal.
I have a question.
Grown ass law abiding black male citizens. You know what we want and what makes sense to us. It typically don't get put to the forefront. And that goes back to what Nate was talking about when he talked about I forgot what he said. Contracts and just think stuff for business and all of that.
How many dudes in here really taking advantage of all the shit that they use to promote the Republican Party? And I'm gonna go at that because I'm a business person. I've been a business person for over 20 years. I want to know because the few, and we done this a few times, Bernard. When I hear people promote the Republican Party, the first thing they go to is lower taxes and what was the other thing? The border control,
deregulation, right? Also, yeah,
right. So, but my thing is. Listen, I'm not against none of that, but again, and still my question has not been answered, and I'm cool with it not being answered.
I got the answer.
Everybody has the answer, and then when they start speaking, they don't answer the question.
I'll answer it to you right now. Like Mark,
go ahead, True Hype. Go ahead, True Hype. Take a shot at answering it because I do think keep it 100. I think everybody have kind of talked around the question, but not just straight to the point answered it.
I honestly think
it's
a lot
nuanced,
of it is
nuanced question, but go ahead, True Hype.
Look, plainly simple. It's because in a lot of people's minds, black men are not to be self-actualized. Period. And that's why. And far too many times, more than not, the shaming language and the tactics because of the programming works. And that is a problem too.
Okay, so what happens when that's done on the right? Because what I understand is, go ahead.
Hold on, real quick, keep on it. I think that shaming language.
When what's done on the right?
I think that shaming language comes in because a lot of the black men who are talking about, what a political party going to do for us, they are normally Democrat, and like Nate says, they're normally following behind black women and what black women want. So it's like it's almost. It comes off that. I know you're not that, but I think so. So that's why it probably throws some people off.
Okay, so then we're back to the
not enough black men.
So then we're back to the communication thing because because I hear Nate say, and don't take this no messed up way, Nate. Nate, 1 minute he'll say, well, just talk how you talk, and if they understand, they understand, and if they don't, they don't. But then the next minute he'll say, well, I don't understand because you got to use certain words, and words are important. It got to be one way or the other.
What are you talking? That's the same thing,
bro.
Check this out. Words are important. Stop worrying about how people feel about them.
No, because earlier when I was speaking to you, I almost had to reword something so that you understood where I was coming from. Because you said, "Well, that word, I'm taking it this way." So
you got to hear
what
me
I'm
out.
saying. Listen to what I'm saying, bro. At the end of the day, bro. If black men are going to get what we need from any of these systems, it's just like what Ice Cube did. He put it down on paper and he's saying, okay, whoever is going to rock with the way we're coming, then that's who we going to rock with. And if they won't, then we won't. And I support that. I support my man that got the, I don't know his name. He got the Black America shirt on or whatever.
Devin.
Say his name again.
Devin
Lockett, bro.
Right. So like that's where I sit with it. I just don't understand that if we ain't taking shaming from the left, because I ain't about to take it from the right neither. So understand that both sides are playing this shame game. Both sides.
I don't think it's a shame game.
It is. Oh, you were the friend.
Every time you open your mouth,
that's shaming, bro.
I can tell you what it is.
Go ahead.
I can tell you what it is. The problem is we've been conditioned as black men, being in the Democrat Party and on the left for the last 60 years. We think this is how politics is supposed to work. We guilt somebody. Hey, you need. What about me? They don't give a fuck about us and this kind of stuff. This
This is
that's not even the language I'm using, though,
You
bro.
vote for me because
Nate,
I'm black.
Nate,
There have been men say this on the
Nate,
March panel.
Nate, what I need you to do is speak to me in the language that I'm speaking to you in. Let's not talk about black men and how they can. No, talk to me. Answer my questions according to how I'm articulating it to you, because you're going elsewhere. And this is why I keep saying nobody's coming direct with what I'm saying.
The
you keep
words
telling,
you
hold
used
on. You
earlier.
keep telling me about what other black men are doing and how they were raised and their condition and blah, blah, blah. Here's a guy that is not in that category talking to you, asking you these questions, and you keep going back to those guys over there to make your point. I'm asking you, as somebody who does not fuck with the left, bro, for every reason you don't, come at the question from that perspective and stop talking about the Luciferians and all this other shit, because you're
I'm not going to stop talking about it.
Bro, you're not going at it directly. You're going around, ring around the rosy shit, and that shit gets kind of frustrating, bro.
Keep it 100. The issue we had earlier.
Now you know how we feel keeping it 100. Any last thoughts from you, gentlemen, before we pick up out of here?
There's nothing that needs to be said.
No, I'll just say that what you just witnessed here, ladies and gentlemen, is a prime example of political ignorance, where people really don't have any solutions or any concrete plans, but are just basically throwing out ideas. I think, like you said, Mike, things going off the back of the napkin here versus having a concrete political vision and strategy and something to execute to. So I didn't hear anything that made much sense in any of that in the past, 20, 25 minutes that we played. And I think if you really sit down and try to have a conversation with these people, you will see, in a one-on-one setting or any sort of setting, that they really lack any sort of serious political acumen to actually go and get things done. So that's all I got to add.
Sapa, say, bro.
Yeah, I second what Renaissance Man said. What we just listened to is just men talking around in circles, contradicting themselves, talking about bonds and houses, and just, ludicrous ideas about limiting other groups of people's rights. And we have to keep in mind, this is very dangerous language. This is very dangerous language. And this is not, unfortunately, we would like to think like, oh, well, this is only this sector of YouTube, but this reflects the Republican base today. And this ties into the first part of this live that you was talking about Donald Trump, that, this is what the modern Republican Party is. This is a party that is not for the future. They know their time is up. And the thing is, their back is against the wall, and they're becoming more and more extremists, and they're doing every trick they can to win elections and, rig elections into their favor. As I said, these people talk about election fraud, but they're the ones who are trying to steal elections. So this is very dangerous, and this is the rhetoric that we're about to, witness in next year's election. So, we can laugh at this. I mean, I was laughing a couple of times, but they're no different than Trump supporters that you see on Fox News. They're essentially saying the same thing. I mean, they were some very extremists in some sense, but this is what a lot of the party believes in.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you all for joining us. Please hit the like button as you exit. Hit that notification bell so you get all the updates from the Black Brain Trust.